And that's the big key. You know, again, if I'm fishing offshore stuff, I like to fish that stuff that I can see on my Navionics that you can't visually see by reading the bank. I mean, if I go back in a creek that just has flat banks, but you know there's a defined creek channel based on your Navionics, I'm going to fish the same things underwater that I would fish visibly. I'm going to fish the underwater points. I'm going to fish the underwater channel swings. I'm going to try to find those transition areas where it goes from gravel to rock, and those are going to be the key places. You know, stumps, laydowns, brush piles, those all play into your decisions and where you're going to throw this bait. You know, with throwing a rock crawler, I mean, table rock on day 3, well, day 2 was when the statement was made. After day 2, day 1, day 2, the fish bit like crazy. Everybody caught them pretty good. When Mark Davis weighed in on day 2, and I think he was leading at that point, Tripp or Dave Mercer asked, you know, do you feel like you can win this tournament? And Mark Davis said that day on day 2, the winner of this event is going to be decided tomorrow. And Dave asked him, well, why is that? And he said, because tomorrow it's going to be high pressure, it's going to be tough fishing, we're not going to have much wind, and whoever catches them the best tomorrow is going to win this event. I was the one that caught them, not the best, but of the guys that were in the hunt to lead, I was the one that caught them on day 3. And the reason I caught them that day was because of my past history and knowledge of table rock and knowing what those fish do on days like that. Essentially, those fish, day 1 and day 2, they were up on top of the break, right on the edge of that rock ledge, and they were up there aggressively eating because the wind was blowing, it was cloudy, it was just everything was right. It was low pressure, they were up there feeding. On day 3, when that wind quit blowing and the sun came out, essentially what those fish do is once they find that comfort zone they want to be in, you know, we were catching most of those fish in probably 6 to 10 or 12 foot of water. That's where they wanted to be. But when it got slick, they stayed at that same depth level, but they pulled out and suspended out off the edge of those breaks. Everybody else, and I shouldn't say everybody else because I'm sure there were other guys that tried and did this kind of thing. Most guys stayed up in that depth zone winding parallel, or you know, maybe they just got off deeper and tried to fish. But over the years of throwing baits like this on table rock, one thing that we've always done a lot of is we catch a lot of fish in open water. We always talk about when the bait lifts is when you get a bite a lot of times. So all I did was I pulled out, set the boat in 18 to 20, 25 foot of water, and instead of throwing at a 30-degree angle or parallel, I started throwing more at a 45 or a 60-degree angle to the bank. I'm grinding the bait all the way out off the point, and probably the 3 biggest bites I had on day 3 bit the bait 10 or 12 foot off the ledge. I mean, I would be grinding, the bait would come free, and I would just maintain, and they'd just load up and get it. And that was the difference maker. And that's one of the unique features about that wide wobbling crankbait. It catches a lot of fish in open water. So don't be afraid to throw it, you know, in open water conditions. And various depths are key too. You know, like I said, I've tested the bait enough to know you got to work at it a little harder to throw it up shallow because it does grind so good. But it'll catch them. I've caught them as shallow as 2 or 3 feet all the way out to 12 to 14 feet. So it's got a broad depth range that you're going to be able to catch them on it.